welcome to Talk Study Create. This is Manpreet. This is part 2 of the chapter Ruling the Countryside, and part 1 of the same chapter was uploaded on Tuesday. If you haven't checked the same, go check it. And then we are going to start with part 2, that is the crops from Europe. So it is all about indigo and indigo production. So what basically indigo is? Indigo is a plant which gives rich blue color dye. So in 13th century, India was a major producer of indigo and it supplied indigo. Its exports were to Italy, France and Britain. Also to Europe, but a very small part of the Indian indigo reached Europe, and that also was very high priced. Obviously, when you were getting small amount at such a high price, you have to find an alternative to it. And same did the European people. They found an alternative. The alternative was wood plant, which is a temperate crop, while indigo was a tropical crop. Now wood was same. It produced blue color, but it was not as rich as it was given by the indigo. So the wood producers knew they have a high competition from indigo, so they asked the government to impose a ban on the indigo import. But the manufacturers of the fabric who required dye, they wanted indigo because obviously who will prefer pale blue over rich blue? The manufacturers of the fabric asked for a relaxation on indigo ban, and the same was done. The French colonies in Saint-Domingue, Caribbean started indigo plantations by calling off African slaves, but they revolted in 1791. Then Portuguese colonies in Brazil, English in Jamaica. So after all of this, the Britishers thought that though they were yielding revenue, but if they started production of cash crops like wheat, jute, cotton and opium, and especially indigo, they could yield a high profit from Europe mainly. So they did the same. By last decade of 18th century, production of indigo in Bengal rose drastically and it started dominating the world market. Since the production of indigo in Bengal shoot up, many company officials left their job and started working as planters so that they can take care of the indigo cultivation, the land of indigo cultivation. Many Englishmen and Scotchmen from Britain came to become planters in India. Also, banks started providing loans to the planters so that cultivate more and more of indigo. Thus, the Britishers were thinking of methods by which they can increase the production of indigo and increase the profit simultaneously. Thus, there were two major methods for the production of indigo. One was the niche cultivation, another was the rayati cultivation. Under niche cultivation, the planters could produce indigo on their lands or on the lands which they have taken on rent from the zamindars. But there were many disadvantages of niche cultivation. The first one was they required a large land, but the land should be fertile, and the villages were densely populated and such land was hard to find. Also, indigo factories, they decided that they could cultivate land near indigo factories, but then they had to remove peasants from there, and this would obviously lead to conflicts and tensions between them. Also, there were no laborers, there were no plows, no bullocks, because all of these were busy in the cultivation of rice. Hence, only 25% of indigo cultivation used niche cultivation. Another method was the rayati cultivation, under which the rayats or the cultivators or the peasants were forced to sign a contract by the planters to cultivate indigo. Sometimes village headmen were also pressurized to sign a contract on the basis of peasants. But what was the issue of rayati cultivation? That the planters would give the peasants loans on a very low interest, and the peasants would be tempted by that and they would sign the contract. But then they would buy that indigo at very low prices. Sooner or later, the peasants realized that this was a very harsh and oppressive method. First, that they were provide loan at a low interest, but the dependence on loans and the loan cycle was never ending. They were always in debt. Also, they were given very low prices for the indigo cultivation. Also, the indigo roots would consume all the nutrients of soil and would make the land infertile and inappropriate for the cultivation of rice. And if these people could not cultivate rice, if peasants could not cultivate rice on their land, what they would eat. All these things led to the Blue Rebellion, or what we call Indigo Rebellion. In 1859, peasants refused to grow indigo, that they would not grow indigo on their land and they will not repay the loans to the planters. But one thing that was to think is that always the one who is oppressed does not stand up and fight back. And for the peasants who were very poor and were dependent on these planters, why would they revolt? Because they had the support of village headmen and the zamindars, as they were not liking the power and the superiority the planters were gaining, and also sometimes the village headmen were forced to sign the contract. Then what? The peasants started attacking the planters, burning up the indigo factories, beating up them with spears, swords, ladies and women beating up all the household stuff like pans and pots. Hence, the planters were assaulted, and hence British had to bring in the military. All the situation was somewhere apprehensive for the Britishers because they have already experienced the revolt of 1857 2 years back, and they had not recovered from it completely, and they did not want a rebellion again. Hence, they set an Indigo Commission. But before that, a Governor General, a company official, Eden went to Barasat and talked to the peasants. He told them, you cultivate indigo, you give your produce to the planters, but you will not be forced. But they misunderstood their words and thought as if he was adding fire to the rebellion and was supporting the rebellion. Then Indigo Commission was set up, as I told. They started all the discussions about the indigo cultivation, and they realized that the methods that were used by the planters were very oppressive, were very harsh, and thus they asked the planters to not to follow such oppressive methods. Peasants can cultivate indigo, can give their produce, but it was not a binding on them, and they can quit any time. Due to this reason, the production of indigo in Bengal collapsed. Then the planters moved to Bihar. In Bihar, one of the peasants called Mahatma Gandhi and asked him to come and see the condition of peasants in Bihar, which led to Champaran movement. So this was all about crops from Europe, indigo plantation, methods of indigo cultivation, and the Blue Rebellion. I hope you liked the video, and if you liked it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment because it's free.